Welcome home, heroes and hunters alike. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, now in Hex format, and this is Warhammer Underworlds, Order Warbands, Heroes and Hunters. This is a box of 4 warbands, all in the Grand Alliance of Order. That means very little. You can still have these guys all play against one another. So if you have Ember Guard or an older version of Warhammer and you would like to pit 4 completely new warbands against each other, or new to you as is the case because this box came out in 2024, then you can absolutely pick this up and they will conform to the latest rule set, at least as of the time of this video. 4 such Grand Alliance boxes were released pre-Ember Guard, and 4 have been released as of the time of this video, post-Ember Guard. So there are actually 4 Grand Alliance Warband boxes in this first wave, and there are 4 more in the second wave. The first one has Order, Chaos, Destruction, and Undead Warbands. Those are the 4 Grand Alliances in this Warhammer Underworlds universe. And the second wave is exactly the same. It's 4 more boxes, but they're all completely different warbands. Looking at a total of 32 warbands that have been released in this format, and this is one of the most economical ways to collect with these warbands. It is a guaranteed way to bring them up to date. I have a sneaking suspicion that Games Workshop is not going to take Ember Guard as unseriously as previous seasons. I don't think we're going to see a lot of rule changes and retcons. Having said that, the damage has been done. Those who have bowed out of this hobby are not going to come back, and this channel is not Warhammer Underworlds focused. I do love collecting these Age of Sigmar warbands because I love the consistency of the size, and I think if I'm going to play a skirmish game, it's going to be Underworlds out of all of the games that Games Workshop has to offer. I think the homebrew potential for these models is amazing, and I'm going to be using them not just for contemporary HeroQuest, but Warhammer Quest Darkwater as well. And there's no reason that these won't also work in the other Warhammer Quest games that are set in the Age of Sigmar. You can easily bring these into Silver Tower. You can easily bring these into the Cursed City, Shadows over Hammerhall. Any future offerings, I'm sure, will maintain this aesthetic. Now, I do want to say before we get into the unboxing that this was my least favorite thing ever to unbox and put together. The sizes of the sprues for a Warhammer Underworlds warband are always the same size. And the fewer models that exist within that warband, the more heck of a time you're going to have putting the models together, because they're all going to have many more pieces, because the size of the sprue never changes. The amount of stuff in the sprue and the sizes of those things so that they all fit within the sprue does change, but they can never go beyond the confines of the sprue. So 3 model warband with Stormcast Eternals, absolutely heck on the fingies. And these fingies suffered greatly with putting these together. Garbag's Gids, I think, is a 10 model warband. That should be super easy to put together because they probably only have room for like the goblin and then the base, or half the goblin, the other half of the goblin, and then the base, and then, you know, that's it. This box, though, I was very unpleasantly surprised by warbands that I thought would be very easy to push fit together, and these are all push fit models, only to have them completely destroy my fingers. I was ready, and may still be ready with the calluses that I've developed, to absolutely shred some Jimi Hendrix on an electric guitar. Things that you wouldn't think would make your digits sore. Push fit doggos? Ouch. Absolutely blunt end of this dwarven gun? Ow. Elven spear just constantly stabbing me. That might be construed inappropriately. Is that sort of humor okay for a Warhammer video? Yes. Spiky thorns, swords, and hair from these whatever they are, tree elves? These were actually fine. These pleasantly surprised me. I saved them for last because I thought they were going to be the hardest, and they were the absolute easiest to push fit together. I was like, that's it? Really? This made me wonder if I should stop the hobby altogether, the Warhammer Underworlds collecting and presentation, for the simple reason that it made me unhappy to put the models together. Many times throughout this process did I think, I'm not having fun. So anyways, I ordered my next box and it'll be here shortly. Let's look at these models. Underworlds is essentially a card game, and you are applying cards to the models that you are using to fight, and you can't mix and match models. You have to stay with the warband you have selected. They don't really grow or progress between games. You're playing an evenly balanced, as much as it can be, skirmish game. I said evenly balanced, and I can hear people in the future just cackling. But there's no doubt in my mind that they at least tried. I'm sure they tried to make it as balanced as possible. You get a lot of these war scrolls. You actually get them in multiple languages, and I've taken that entire block of war scrolls in other languages and set them aside. I think I'll just give them away. I don't really want to throw them away. Keeping the ones that are in English. You get the fighter cards, which are double-sided, so that you can have them inspired on the battlefield, which is a major mechanic in Underworlds. Then you get your assembly guide. I'm so glad I'm done with this. I'm never going to disassemble these guys. They will stay assembled until they are destroyed, sold, given away, lost. I have zero reason to take them apart, so I'm tossing the assembly instructions as well. They don't come with any cards because you're able to do deck building in this game. You can start out with a rivals deck. You can do multiple rivals decks put together with some restrictions on the amount of cards and the type of cards that you're putting in if you're trying to play a Nemesis game. There are other rules that come into play if you're doing tournament play. I don't care about tournament play on the channel. I'm not going to cover any sort of tournament play strategy. I don't care about the meta one bit. That is the thing that has put people off of this game the most, even though that's the intended audience. They sell this and design it and manage it for tournament play, and then they absolutely just bone everybody harder than the Sepulchral Guardians because they're made of bones. So it would be a pretty big feat to bone. Never mind. This channel is not only like taking a introductory look at Warhammer Underworlds, it's trying to approach it from a dungeon crawler perspective so it can inject a little bit of new life into this product line, and that's just for the sole purpose of saying to all the people who feel wronged by the tournament rule changes and the phasing out of older cards and the like, hey, you don't have to give away your stuff. You don't have to sell your stuff. You can keep this and continue using it if you just stop using it for the dumb tournament stuff. What we have here is a perfectly good warband of Dwarven fighters, and we could probably easily translate their stats into Darkwater in order to have a balanced party of, well, the Thundrick's Profiteers to take on the Darkwater quests. They could do that for their own reasons. They don't have to necessarily be trying to fight chaos, keep Nurgle's influence from penetrating Garan. They're Profiteers. They're after profits. And that makes sense. Without further ado, though, we're going to take a look at these models and their cards. We have Khazgan, and he is floating. Yes, he is raised above with his strange dwarven tech that allows him to simply fly over the battlefield. He can avoid traps. And here is the dungeon crawler homebrew sort of side to all of this, as we're just looking at these, just by looking at them and thinking a little bit about not only the appearance of their model and what they're wielding, but kind of some give and take to the balance that they would provide if you were going to convert them to a dungeon crawler game. Khazgan here could absolutely avoid traps, but this thing's not going to stay fueled forever. I'm not quite sure what technology it is, and somebody out there with more Warhammer lore chops than I, which is literally anybody and everybody watching this video, would be able to tell me, but I don't think it would be powered forever. So at some point he's going to come down, and when he comes down, you're going to have to spend a turn, an action, to get him back up in the air. Again, this is not an Underworlds rule. It's got nothing to do with Underworlds. By the way, there's nothing saying I can't combine these 4 completely different season boards together. Well, they're not all from different seasons. These are from the same season. But anyway, I made one massive board, and I would absolutely love to play Underworlds in this way. Next up, we have Lund. Lund has a long gun. As you can see on the opposite side of their card, they are inspired. They have their inspired stats. There are select conditions that cause them to inspire, and we'll go over that by looking at their war scrolls at the end of each warband presentation. But we lose the custom art and the flavor text and all that cool stuff that was on the back of the older fighter cards. I'm going to greatly miss that. I vastly prefer the older style of card to this. This is dry. It is sterile. It has what you need, but no. And if you haven't watched a previous video on this and you're wanting to know kind of the anatomy of the card, this character can move 2 hexes with a move action. They defend with 1 save die. They have 3 wounds, and I forget what this means. I think it means that if you defeat them, you get 1 glory point, or they start with 1 glory point. I'm rusty. Go down here, we have 2 different attacks that they can perform. One is a melee, one is a ranged. One has a range, the melee has a range of 1 hex, obviously. The Warhammer face on the die is counted as a success, and they roll 2 of them, and each successful hit or successful attack will cause 1 hit against the enemy, against the target. The ranged is the exact same stats, but you can shoot a target up to 4 hexes away. 4 unblocked line of sight legal hexes. That's Lund, everybody. I would definitely have him play into his sniper role. You'd want to keep him away from the opposition. By the way, I'm no less impressed about the type of plastic and color of plastic that they've used for these guys. Oh, and I did want to give an example of what inspiration kind of means. So this 2-1-3-1 changes when you flip the card over to 3-1-3-1 because inspired is a status that this model now has, that this fighter now has in this warband. And there has to be a certain condition that is met for this to happen. But as soon as that condition is met, your fighter is inspired and they can enjoy these higher stats. What else changes? Well, your 4-2-1 now becomes a 4-4-1, which means your ranged attack is much more powerful. This is Enric. I would probably treat him very similarly to Lund. Kind of wondering if these names are based on any real people, anybody who might work for the design team, anybody in the company. This guy sports a pipe, it looks like. It's kind of hard to tell where the supposed pipe begins and ends, and the weapon over here. Is it bagpipes? It's not bagpipes, right? Is this dwarf carrying around bagpipes to blow into to inspire his fellow heroes? Yeah, I doubt it very much. It looks like a ranged weapon of some kind. There's a lot going on this model, though. And sadly, the art of the character, all painted up, not art, but literal photograph, doesn't really help me discern the details that much. But it is a lot of fun thinking that that's either a pipe, which I really think it is, or a weaponized bagpipe. If it is, you'll have to let me know. This is Garrod, another dwarf. This one is, they're all wearing masks, it seems. They could just have like hardened features, but the card visuals really make it seem like they have iron masks that are just in the shape of dwarven faces. And after all, why wouldn't a dwarf wear a dwarf mask? It makes perfect sense. This guy is a melee fighter as well as limited range fighter. Here's his inspired side. We're not really caring too much about the inspired stats. Finally, we move on to, not that, Thundrick. Thundrick is the leader of the Profiteers, the one who charges into the foray to lead these expeditions into the unknown in order to get the gold, the treasure. He has so much going on. So much going on his back. What's it all for? Is it to provide oxygen so that he can safely explore the deepest parts of the mines? Is it to provide him with some kind of treasure-seeking ability? There is an augment over one of his eyes. He certainly has the firepower to back up any expedition that might have dangers, like rats. If you're wondering, the dwarves scale just fine with the HeroQuest dwarf. You could absolutely use these guys in your game. I actually highly recommend using warbands from Underworlds in contemporary HeroQuest, and I've done a couple of videos on that. I've talked about warbands in HeroQuest. And I've done a Will It HeroQuest video, I do believe, on the last Grand Alliance pack I opened, which was Destruction Warbands, which of course those will HeroQuest. Just a bunch of orcs and goblins. Who's next? The War Scroll. Thundrick's Profiteers. Now, the War Scrolls weren't in the earliest editions, the earliest seasons of this game. Now all of that flavor text and all of those extra rules and things have been put on here. Oh, here's the lore. Armed with advanced aether tech. Don't worry, I'm not going to read all this. These are other languages. The Cadron descend seeking profit, and few can sniff out wealth like Bjorgen Thundrick. The wily aether chemist has hired an eclectic coterie of skyfarers, all competing for promotion. While Eric Ironhill, Garrod Allinson, and Deadeye Lund lay down fire, Kazkan Drakskewer uses his aether engine to strike foes from above. To inspire, after you score an objective card, if a friendly leader, Crown, is on the battlefield, you can pick a friendly fighter. Inspire that fighter. This is mine, fair and square. The Cadron have no time for non-binding contracts. While a friendly fighter is holding a treasure token and there are no enemy fighters adjacent to them, that fighter cannot be pushed by enemy abilities. Atmospheric isolation. At the push of a button, Thundrick creates a vacuum to suffocate his foes. Use this immediately after your action step. I won't read that part. Custom Aether Shot rounds. They don't come carved with your enemy's name on the casings, but these rounds are no less deadly for it. Hail of Aether Shot. Volume of fire solves most problems. And by the code. The Caradron Code grants the Duardin leeway to pursue their goals, provided lawful profits are earned and taxes duly paid. That's Thundrick's Profiteers. Be able to play them with whatever deck you so have. Let's go next into Ylthari's Guardians. I was putting these together with absolutely no clue by looking at the sprue how they would look when they were finished. I was like, they're just trees. I'm just putting together trees. And then I got done and I'm like, oh, they're trees with faces. Let's start with Galinghan. This is Galinghan. He has 2 different melee attacks. One of them carries an effect, a symbol to apply to the attack, although that disappears on his non-inspired side. Generally, the size of the warband is going to be a good clue as to kind of how that warband should be played. If you get a warband with 10 members in it, it's very likely every single one of them is going to be super squishy. You could try to overwhelm your opponent with sheer numbers. That is definitely the strategy to go with it first, or else try to hold different areas, but prepare to be squished. These pieces are so wiry and thin. This is Oslane, and this is the inspired side of the card for Oslane. We'll turn him around, and I just want to say, despite the trials and tribulations of putting these models together, I was actually really surprised how much I liked them by the time I was done. I like this model a lot. I could definitely see these creatures having absolutely no movement penalties. They don't get slowed down by things like traps and the like. Again, coming from the dungeon crawler homebrew perspective, I feel like I'm going to have to disclaim that a lot. This is Skathael. Ikana on the card saying Skathael. So Skathael, I like them. They have enormous horns and an enormous sword, and it looks like a thorn flail, albeit a kind of tiny one. There's also this thing. I'm not sure what's going on here. It looks like it was designed by Guillermo del Toro. Butchered that name. First try. It's an imposing silhouette on the back. I flipped the card like I was going to see the back of the figurine. Classic Ash. Absolutely threatening. Turns around, no less threatening, I suppose. It's like, I don't know what you expected. This would be a high attack character. I definitely would make these guys susceptible to fire damage. They would be very weak to it. Next up, Ylthari. This is the titular character for this warband, the leader, and as you can see, they do not have legs. They have a writhing mass of thorny tentacles. Well, branches, I guess. Their save die specifies a sort of swooping arrow. That is the dodge symbol. It is a special face on the die. That is how they avoid attacks. So yeah, these guys are probably pretty squishy, but I am sure the deck that you choose to build and play to control them will accommodate for that, and allow them to score their glory points, which is the true end game of Warhammer Underworlds. It's not simply to wipe out the opponent by doing other things other than defeating enemies or getting squished themselves. Nobody wants that. Moving on to the High Elves, but not before we read all about Ylthari's Guardians. Inspire. After a friendly fighter uses a core ability, you can place 1 power card from your hand or power deck face down next to this war scroll to a maximum of 3. These cards are no longer in your hand or power deck and cannot be revealed. At the end of your turn, and after an enemy fighter is slain, you can place 1 growth token on each of those cards. After the 5th growth token is placed on the same card, pick a friendly fighter and inspire that fighter, and remove those growth tokens and then add that card to your hand. You can use one of the following abilities per battle round. The Burgeoning. As trees blossom, Ylthari's Guardians surge forth with renewed vigor. The Reaping. The coming of midsummer sees the power of the Sylvaneth in full bloom, energetic and wild. The Dwindling. As the days grow shorter, the Sylvaneth are as capricious as the falling leaves. And Everdusk. The dearth of vital energies imbues Ylthari and her protectors with a bitterness of soul as cold as frost. I believe I misgendered Ylthari. I'm sorry, ma'am. All of the characters look a bit effeminate, so I knew it was going to happen at some point. But yes, Ylthari is a lady, but she still only has thorns and not legs. Once envoys on behalf of the Everqueen, Ylthari and her protectors, Anslain, Skathael, and Galangon of the Glade, were caught in the machinations of Nagash and shorn from their Sylvaneth kin. Their symbiotic relationship with their surroundings reflect the seasons of the realms, and within them burns a hatred for any who threaten the natural cycles. Moving on to Myari's Purifiers. Aglow with Hishian light, the Aelves of Myari's Purifiers strive to heal the realms. Myari Lightcaller is a skilled mage even for one of the Lumineth, while the Stone Guard Bahanar is as immovable as the mountain spirits he venerates. Aelen, known as the Mind's Edge, defends Myari in exchange for arcane tutelage, while Senala's Sunmetal arrows burn foes from within. I love the color of these sculpts so much. I don't think there could have been a more perfect color to represent these 4 models. I'm not going to paint my Underworlds miniatures because I like the base color concept so much. I'm a HeroQuest purist. I love factioning with base colors, and I don't want to change that with my Age of Sigmar models here, since they were all cast with different colors. Every single one of them has got a unique color, not used in any other warband. I've said this before, but even the Stormcast Eternals, while they all look like the exact same blue, they're just like one tick off, one shade off. This is Senaela. Reading her Arcana there. I really like the bow that was crafted for this character. We get not one, but 3 strings, making up for 2 other miniature sculpts of archers out there in the world with that lack of bowstring, and proving that this can be done. Absolutely a ranged character, and she already has a special type of arrow. Bahanar is serious. This is a very tanky looking character. That is a Warhammer. It is going to have some range. It's going to be slow. It might be easy to predict, or it might be impossible not to telegraph the attack, but that is going to hurt if it connects, although the stats don't really suggest that that's the case. This top one though, this top one right here, that's 2. That's damage of 2. That could one-shot certain characters. This is a good character to throw out there and attack stuff with. But man, I love that sculpt. The helmet, very Dark Souls. It's a very Dark Souls character. Islen. This is Islen. They've got the banner. There's even already a design on the banner of the Eiffel Tower, which we all know the elves come from. Sort of bastardization of the Eye of Horus atop that. Very long sword. This is a very lithe, nimble protector. A bit short in stature, so should be able to move around very easily. Loving just every piece of this sword sculpt. These are some of my favorite. These might be my favorite elf-based miniatures of all time. Except for the witch. The witch elves are so cool. The dark elves of Oldhammer are so good. Really hard to beat those. This is Myari, and I saved him for last, but I couldn't tell you why. He is perched atop a rock with a completely unnecessary pose. This actually broke when was this? Oh God, it broke again. Why did I tempt fate? Well, if it was that easy to break, then it needed to be re-glued anyway. This thing is impossible. Anyways, we'll fix that later, but oh, I hate how fragile some of these pieces were. This one might have actually been my fault. I might have snipped it from the sprue thinking that I had it at the right place to snip. An unnecessarily sized cowl, owl. I mean, I don't know what the cost would be to lose your leader, but I would probably lose this guy on purpose every time. I would send him out straight ahead of everybody, being the example that he wants his people to follow. I saved what I think the best might be for you guys. This is Hexbane's Hunters. These are the obvious pack of witch hunters, or at least one of them is very much witch hunter coded. The rest of them don't have to be, but I mean they probably are anyway. The Order of Azir purges any who threaten Sigmar's folk, and Haskell Hexbane is adamant that the ends justify the means, utterly uncompromising the witch hunter and his associates, broad-shouldered Amos Duncarrow, stern Bridget Axwold, and the houndmaster known as Quiet Pock, along with the war dogs Ratspike and Grotbiter, are relentless prosecutors of evil, as you should be if you're going to be in this business. Let's get the dogs first. They're good boys. They're such good boys. Look at this dog. Can you pet the dog on this channel? Yes, you can. And you have full control over that. You can scrub the video back and forth to continue petting the doggo. This is Ratspike, and he's deserving of all of the treats. He is such a good boy. His masters might be a little misguided from time to time, but they set him upon foes, and he gets to eat like a king. He gets to eat goblins and all who defy Sigmar. It's good eatings. It's good victuals there. This is Grotbiter. He is no less a fantastic pup. I loved putting these guys together. They were super easy to do, but yeah, there were still some uncomfortable spots as I pushed them into their bases, but no less charming of a doggo. We're going to go ahead and give this boy a pet before moving on to the next one. And yes, feel free to scrub back and forth to continue giving this doggo pets. This YouTuber's losing his mind. You're losing your mind if you think I'm going to pass by a good boy and not give it a pet. This is Pock. This is Quiet Pock, the pack master. And I think it was a really good idea to give him a ranged weapon because it's kind of like duck hunting. You go fire at the animal, shoot it down, and the dog will go retrieve it. Except in this universe, you're firing at the leg of an enemy of Sigmar, an agent of chaos, and the dog is going to finish the job off. I like his mask. It's really cool. I like the paint job they gave his miniature on the card. I would be trying to replicate that if I wanted to paint. This guy was difficult to put together, though. There's still something going on with this shoulder. It's causing it to split, and if I put it together, the arm kind of slips out the back, and then I have to take him apart to put the arm back where it was supposed to go. Yeah, I recommend glue. This crossbow is supposed to perfectly line up. It almost does perfectly line up. It kind of looks like he's still kind of in the middle of his aim. So I kind of like that, and I'm going to leave it be. That's Pock. We're going to take a look at Steadfast Bridget. Nice to see another lady here entering the ranks. She's pretty threatening, has herself a flintlock pistol and a little hand axe. She looks appropriate. She actually has 2 hand axes, so she could go in like a badass with both axes, one in each hand. Or she could Zorro it, put one of the axes between her teeth, go into battle. This is broad-shouldered Amos. Hi, y'all, I'm Amos. I'm not going to go down that path again. This guy has a huge axe, battle axe. We are ready to enter the fray with the battle axe and with the plate armor. This is a heavy boss-type character that you can send in. Start knocking people down. Nothing too special here, but he is a heavy hitter. So if you move him in, you've got 3, for his inspired side anyways, dice with the Warhammer side, and he will inflict 2 damage, unless it can be mitigated. Finally, we have Haskell Hexbane himself. This is, said it before, if you can take out the warband in a given dungeon, if you're playing a dungeon crawler, then you should be able to recruit the leader of that warband into your ranks. They will kind of see, oh, you're not the evil that I thought you were. There we go. I was trying to kind of line up the miniature with the pose that it's making on the card. The inspired side loses the 2 symbols present in the melee attack for the uninspired side, but that's okay. Also, none of the stats on the left side change, just the attacks. Witch Hunter for HeroQuest? Yes, please. And that's the Order Warband collection. We'll read the Inspires for Hexbane's Hunters and some of the abilities. After a friendly agent Azurite is slain, you can pick a friendly agent Azurite and inspire that fighter. After a friendly Pock is slain, inspire each friendly minion. So the doggos get inspired if their Packmaster gets slain. After a friendly Pock. Tools of the Trade. When a hunter falls, knowledge of what felled them is used to better prepare for the next encounter. Marked for Vengeance. To slay a member of the Order of Azirs to invite retribution. Tight-knit Pack. Only by killing both of Pock's hounds shall enemies of this warband know peace. Loyal hounds, Ratspike and Grotbiter, are as loyal as they come. And Ward of Martyr's Blood. The Order of Azir prepares defenses against everything. Worry not, as I am going to find better protective methods. I'm not just going to let these guys shuffle around in this box, but that's the Order Warband's Heroes and Hunters for Warhammer Underworlds. If you enjoyed this presentation, feel free to let me know. If you didn't like it, then dislike the video and feel free to let me know. If you made it this far, you must have liked it though, so that's kind of a very poor way of sampling. Almost forgot that stupid elf's stupid staff tip. I have a specific order, had one, that I wanted to do these Grand Alliance unboxings in, but opportunity to get this at a really good price presented itself, and I couldn't pass it up, so... He's so greedy, he takes up an entire space. Look, I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to put him in there with you. You guys are going to share like good elves. So many people who use foam to protect their warbands are cringing right now, and I am here for it. Let me know in the comments below if you are absolutely cringing at this storage solution. Okay, and the dwarves are safe. I will see you all in the next exciting adventure. All right, bye guys.